Look at Khan's positioning. That blue trinket did come down and he knows, so he's just trying to avoid the vision. Armin is aware of the potential flank.
And
we're going for a 50-50.
He's going to go, he has flash. Khan has flash, slices and dices up the Mad Lions! And they did not respect Khan! Damwon Kia cleaned the Lions off the map!
Kennen is always an exciting champion to watch in pro play. His all-or-nothing burst kit makes him a deadly champion in the right hands, and a cannon minion for those who can't find good ultimates. Throughout international events, the best Kennen plays have always been instrumental in determining the outcome of the match. Kennen plays have also been immortalized in the minds of fans, most notably Smeb's Kennen ult versus G2 at 2016 Worlds. So if Kennen is so impactful, why don't teams play him more? Disregarding Kennen's strength due to the patch, the answer lies in how easy it is to counter him in teamfights. In most cases, exhaust is enough to nullify Kennen's instantaneous burst. Another strategy is to draft champions with disengage, such as Gragas, Alistar, Janna, and Cassante, so that Kennen's ult will not get the necessary value to win a team fight. A third way to counter Kennen is to create pick or skirmish opportunities right before big team fights, so his ultimate only hits 1 or 2 champions. By doing so, you willingly accept that he will all-in you with his ultimate, but because it's just a 1v1 or a small skirmish, it won't have the same value in a 5v5 team fight. So if this is how teams counter Kennen, what does Kennen have to do to create winning chances? An essentially required win condition is for Kennen to flank. Without flanking, but rather engaging in plain sight, teams will be more likely to kite out his ultimate. In order to flank, Kennens usually purchase Sweeper and plan out elaborate flanking routes well in advance before an objective. Having flash for the team fight is also incredibly important, since using all ticks of his ultimate on more enemies will greatly swing the outcome. Not to mention that your engages will be more instantaneous. Now that we talked about strategies to play as and against Kennen, let's take a look at Kennen's spring regional playoffs and MSI stats. The LPL and LEC found enormous success with Kennen during their spring playoff matches. Both leagues had incredible win rates, with LPL Kennens winning 13 out of their 15 matches and LEC Kennens winning 11 out of their 15 matches. Kennen's overall presence was over 80% in both leagues when factoring in his ban rate. By the way, I am including both groups and playoffs for LEC. On the other hand, LCK and LCS barely saw any Kennen priority, with 1 loss in LCK and 1 win and 3 losses in LCS. At MSI play-ins, Kennen's priority was back, rocking a 100% win rate in the 4 games he was picked. However, this success was likely because the matches were against minor regions. During MSI bracket stage, Kennen's presence was still relatively high, being pick or banned in 2/3 of matches, but his win rate plummeted, winning only 2 out of the 11 matches played, most of which were from Western teams. To add insult to injury, G2 and Mad Lions would B1 or R1 Kennen, demonstrating their enormous value in Kennen as a game-winning and blindable champion. Whereas Eastern teams would pick Kennen into Sion or R3 in order to ban Kennen counters. Let's take a look at how EU and LPL found success with Kennen in their regions, and how it translated so poorly for EU on the international stage. In Game 5 of BLG vs EDG, Bin is playing Kennen. No objectives are up yet, but BLG saw the opportunity for an eventual flank play on EDG. Bin TPs to Raptors and is seen miles away from EDG's ward. EDG decide to take their chances and all-in Wukong in a temporary 5v4. But they quickly regret it, and Kennen is able to get a flank on Malphite and Vi. Although Aphelios gale forced to safety, Kennen did enough damage that his team could clean up. In Game 2 of OMG vs BLG, Shanji is on Kennen. OMG start Baron, and Kennen sets up for a flank play. Bin and Yagao both ward below the river wall, showing how paranoid they are about Kennen's whereabouts. OMG engage too hastily and blow their setup advantage they had over BLG. This whole time, BLG has been super diligent in warding their flanks to guarantee that they have tabs on Kennen. Kennen is then seen to be grouped with his team. And after dancing around Baron for a few more seconds, BLG strikes when Kennen is most vulnerable, which is when he is spotted and clumped with his team. Yagao's flash W on Annie seals the teamfight win for BLG. In Game 2 of TT vs RNG, Hoya is on Kennen. RNG start Dragon but have no idea where Kennen is. TT take their time to clear vision around RNG's blue buff, and this makes RNG very worried. Kennen could be anywhere, but most teams would guess that he is flanking from blue buff, since this is a very deadly angle and RNG has a ward in Tribush. When in reality, Kennen was doing nothing but sitting in Pixel Bush with his team, not flanking at all. So Rise and Vi look stupid for trying to attack the bush when nobody is there.
What is Angel doing?
But it's because they're looking for Kennen. The way the fight played out was anticlimactic because Aphelios eats a QW combo and Kennen faceplants by engaging directly into RNG. But this clip goes to show the preparation and anxiety that LPL teams have against Kennen, which would serve to be useful at MSI. Now, let's take a look at LEC Kennen games. In Game 5 of G2 vs Mad, Kadril sums it up best.
Can do a lot of work here.
Yeah, Chasey level 11. How does he find his way in this fight? It's a bit frustrating. Playing front to back as Kennen is not ideal. He needs to find a way around this side.
Chasey is not playing Kennen to his proper win conditions, and assuming that A-ramming is enough to scrap a teamfight win. And indeed, the Mad Lions do scrap their way through, because Mickey decides to hook an Ezreal, not to mention that Broken Blade was not with his team as Jace. So while Mad Lions won this game, Kennen wasn't the reason why they won, and his mispositioning didn't cost the fight, because Jace and Nautilus made bigger mistakes. In Game 3 of Mad vs Vitality, Vitality looked for a slow chase on Mad because it's a 5v4 with Cassante dead, so Vitality throw everything at Mad to force the fight. But when Kennen arrives, he doesn't try to cut Mad's escape routes off, but instead he groups with his team, thereby giving Mad more opportunities to escape. If Photon walked through the jungle instead, he may have gotten Lee Sin and Xayah while they tried to escape. And if Mad were to engage in Vitality, Photon still has Flash to jump over the wall and fight. In the very next game, Chasey is playing Kennen. Kennen is split pushing bot, which forces Vitality to make a decision. They decide to start Baron since Kennen is up 4k gold versus Rumble, so Rumble can't match the split push. When Kennen TPs, he decides to TP in the Baron pit, leaving Vitality with an escape path. Instead, it would be better if Kennen TP'd to the top wave minions, not only to cut off Vitality if they retreat, but also to arrive with a nasty flank. This clip shows that it was Vitality's mistakes that decided this fight, rather than Smurf Kennen gameplay. Tahm Kench saves Maokai, and then TF gets an RFC gold card on Aphelios. Kennen then gets the easiest ult of his life. In all these examples, LEC Kennen's default to grouping with their team when a better play would be to look for an off-angle play. These wins absolutely led Mad and G2 to think that Kennen is a power pick, when in reality, these wins were mostly due to the enemy team's misplays. As a result, EU had an insane priority on Kennen at MSI. In Game 4 of G2 vs Gen G, Broken Blade is on Kennen, looking for a flank play at Baron. But Gen G senses the flank, since that is what Kennen ought to be doing. Instead of tunneling on Baron like G2 thought they would, Gen G retreats at the perfect second G2 decide to engage. Both Exhaust and Cassante ult are used on Kennen. Additionally, Tristana checks the bush near red buff in case Kennen is there, and if so, great, because Tristana wins the 1v1. She would also bait Kennen to use his ult only on one target, which is a viable strategy. In Game 1 of Mad vs T1, Chasey is playing Kennen, and he elects to ARAM in the river when his other option was to TP bot. The dragon is flipped and T1 gets it. Mad Lions uses Pike Q and Tibbers on the front line, which is theoretically losing against T1's front to back comp. And the worst mistake of all is Kennen ult only being used on Kha'Zix. This relieves so much tension for Aphelios, because now he can be more aggressive after Kennen blue ult. In Game 1 of C9 vs BLG, Fudge is playing Kennen. C9 are first the dragon, but Kennen is seen preparing for a flank, and BLG punish him. Vi ult and Taliyah ult are both used to jump on Kennen. Vi ult into Taliyah W combo essentially one-shots Kennen. Yes, C9 fought back, but only got a pick on Nami, which is winning for BLG. Later the same game, C9 again tries to set up a Kennen flank at Dragon. Fudge recognizes that flanking is important, but he is spotted by Taliyah's blue trinket. Again, Vi and Taliyah are ready to jump on him. Also, notice that BLG isn't even close to being near Dragon, most likely because they want to know where Kennen is before they commit. Stopwatch and Flash are burned by Kennen, which are incredibly important to his team fighting chances. And to make matters worse, C9 decides to respond by engaging, when Kennen and Xayah were literally kited away seconds ago. Vi and Taliyah have the inner track to peel for their team. So whether Kennen was indeed a priority pick at MSI, and that he was just mispiloted, or that Kennen was not a priority at all is still up to debate. But the fact that Asian teams didn't prioritize Kennen makes me think that he just wasn't meta. Nonetheless, EU's complacency towards their mastery of Kennen was definitely a big reason why they lost their games, and Asian teams gave them a clinic on how to nullify Kennen that they just didn't get to face in LEC. So what do you think? Is Kennen blindable? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you like analytical content like this, please hit the like and subscribe button for more. See you in the next video.